Writers, it feels like yesterday we were sitting in our classroom at school, drafting our fictional narratives, and in many ways we all wish we were still there. But I'm really going to try to make this an engaging experience for you. I think it's important for you to really focus in. You spent lots of time on planning, thinking, practicing, drafting your fictional narrative, and we really want to pick up where we left off and continue that process, even remotely. So I want you to kind of think back to a few weeks ago. I want you to close your eyes and think back to the day, or the days really, that we were drafting our fictional narratives, and imagine what it looked like. What did it sound like? Was it quiet? Were there distractions? Were you pushing yourself to tell the entire story and get that entire story out? You remember that indeed we did. We sat quiet, free of distractions. Door closed so no one would disturb us. We needed to get that story out. And so why am I bringing us back to that day? Why do I have this quote up here? Stephen King did say it best. He said, "Write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open." What did he mean by that? Write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open. Jot down a sentence or two, pause the video, and write down a sentence or two. What do you think that means? Write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open. So I'm sure by now you've jotted some ideas down. And it really makes sense, right? When we drafted our fictional narratives, we had that door closed. We were pushing ourselves to get that story out. We could not have any distractions. We were on a mission, right? And what he meant by that, writing with the door closed and rewriting with the door open, is just that, right? That your first draft should be written to get the story out. You close the door, eliminate distractions to just write, which you've done, so the mission's accomplished. But when you revise and edit, you're clarifying meaning for your reader, smoothing out the details, opening the door for them. So today, we're going to start that process of bringing out the best in your writing. Today, and for the next few days, maybe even for the next 2 weeks, we see again, we revise. Okay, I want you to write the objective. I could find a sentence within my draft that doesn't quite feel right and use different words to say the same idea. Pause the video and write the objective down. Okay. When we rewrite a line again and again, we're revising, right? When we rewrite, we revise. Bring the voice, the true writer's voice out, what we really, really want to say, right? And I know I've told you guys this story a lot of times, but this is something that should stay with you forever because you'll never stop writing. You might have experiences already where you really, really wanted to write something in an email and maybe you wrote it out really quickly. Then you thought about it and said, you know what? You changed a few sentences here and a few there. And before you know it, you were sending a completely different email. And really, perhaps the first one that you wrote was sort of what you thought you wanted to say. But really, by the time you spent a little bit of time kind of revising, you knew you were sending that email out and it was exactly what you wanted to say. And so today you guys are going to do that, okay? We're going to start with, I'm actually going to model this for you. I wrote this a couple entries ago, right? And I just pulled it out. I actually just found it while I was home. And I said, let me pull out a line from my story and try to rewrite this line again and again. And the line was, the house I grew up in was a special place. And really, I found that sentence and I pulled that out because in my piece, it was important. Okay. It was important, essential, central to what I was saying. It wasn't a story about my house. It was a story about my upbringing. And my house was kind of a symbol. And I really knew that saying the house I grew up in was a special place didn't quite do that justice. So I thought to myself, well, let me rewrite that line. And I'll see where I went. You'll see where I went with it. So I rewrote it and I came up with this. My house. It holds a lifetime of memories. It holds that special place in my heart forever, right? Special place in my heart forever. So I did still say it was a special place, and I said it was my house, and I grew up there. I said it in a new way, right? I didn't say something different, just said something more. I also stretched it out, right? First I have a real short sentence, and then a little longer, and then a little longer, right? So there's a little rhythm, right? Rather than the house I grew up in was a special place, it's my house. It holds a lifetime of memories. It holds that special place in my heart forever. So I'm already getting the sense, like I'm already feeling like this feels right. This feels more connected in the way I want my house to feel connected to the reader. Okay, I'll try it again though. Sometimes it feels like my house had a hand in raising me. It was more than a house. It was like a parent protecting me from the storms of my childhood. And as you could see, I said something similar, a little more. I stretched it out, and I said it again. This time I changed it. And I didn't say something new. I kept the idea, but I changed the words and the order, and I expressed more. And so now what I want to do is, I think I'm good there. I think I even found already a revision that I want to make. And so I've already reflected on, I'm going to take these two drafts, right, little mini drafts of the line, and reflect on them for a minute and even try, saying them out loud a little bit before writing it on my paper. And I'm going to ask myself, so which one of these feels the most right? And for me, for this story and for even, this is part of my introduction. In fact, I started with this line. And I want to maybe hint at something a little deeper, right, than just it really being special to me. It's a little bit even deeper than that. And I do want to hint at that. So I think I'm going to choose this one, right? It feels right. It's something that it definitely connects. So instead of the house I grew up in was a special place, I'm going to start with, sometimes it feels like my house had a hand in raising me. It was more than a house. It was like a parent protecting me from the storms of my childhood. Okay? So, guys, as I send you off today to do your writing, okay, I want to leave you with all of the tools that you need to do this revision, okay? You are not merely students that write, you're writers, right? And the door is open now, okay? Writers, today you have a very important job. Today you will begin to see again. You will begin the revision process. We know in French that means to see again. So here are your next steps, okay? You're going to find a sentence or a line in your piece that seems very important, but doesn't quite feel right. Then You're going to maybe change the order of the words, say it again. This time, change something else. Maybe you'll try saying it out loud before writing it on paper. Okay? You're going to reflect on the changes that you made. You're going to reflect on all the drafts of that line. And you have to ask yourself, which one feels the most right? Right? And if you need to, you might write 3 or 4. You might not quite find it, but when you do, you'll know it. Okay? After you do this, you're gonna do that through every phase of the story arc, right? So you're gonna try to find many, many areas in your piece where it just doesn't feel right. You want to say more. And one thing is that you might want to start with the introduction. Make sure you have a powerful beginning. Make sure you go possibly to the point that has lots of tension, maybe right before the climax. Pull a line from that. If it doesn't add that tension, follow these steps, right? Change a word or two. Reflect on the drafts and ask yourself which one feels the most right. Try saying out loud before you're writing it on paper. Okay? And then you might even go to the climax scene, right? Or maybe you'll go even as you're resolving your piece, maybe you'll find sentences that were too in depth. And we know that by the time we're resolving our story, we don't want to go long and meandering, right? Your reader is ready to really see this thing come to its ending. And so maybe you'll find that you'll do the opposite. Maybe you'll shorten something because it feels right. Then, of course, you'll do the same thing at the end. Okay? As you know, you're going to be graded on revisions. So you have to do this work and you have to do it with fidelity. This isn't the only revision you're going to be doing, but I think this is a really manageable one for you. Okay? I want you to go across. At every stop, you should be able to find some, sentences or parts of your story that you could rewrite again and again, and then ask yourself which feels the most right. Okay? So I'm sending you to do your revisions because you're writers. Off you go.